Hey all, what is up? Keasbey here with some more Purrely match commentary. So today we're going to be going into a match against my least favorite deck to sit across from, and I have no ill will towards anyone who plays this deck, but we're going against Dark World. And as always, a little bonus game afterwards. But before we get into all that, don't forget to drop this video a like and subscribe to the channel for even more. By the way, just a quick note, if I sound a little bit off, I just was at a concert the night before recording this, and my voice is a little bit shot from singing along to Fall Out Boy for about an hour and a half. Okay, so going to game one, we are going second against Dark World. We've opened Infinite Impermanence, which we're going to attempt to save for either the Saryuja Skuldred or the Dugaris, but because the way this deck works, we're probably going to have a Purrely on the field for a while, so no guarantees we'll ever get to fire it off. Otherwise, our hand's not bad, provided we get to keep it through the inevitable hand loop that they are going to attempt. So yeah, a lot's going to happen. We're just kind of going to watch Dark World spin its wheels for a bit. And yep. Alright, they've got the Silva, so part one of hand looping us is ready, and there's the Purrely. That's going to come to our side of the field. That's going to discard Silva. So because Purrely counts as our card effect now, the Silva bonus effect is going to trigger. We're going to shuffle 2 cards from our hand back into the deck. We'll just get rid of those 2 happy memories because they're not really doing anything for us right now. We really want to ultimately retain this My Friend Purrely at all costs. So our opponent's going to do some more Dark World stuff. Gates of the Dark World, soft ones per turn. There's Dangerous Tsuchinoko. And they're going to rip Triple Tactics Thrust off the top. Fun fact, because Purrely counts as our effect, Triple Tactic Thrust is live. Also, even less fun, because it's on our side of the field currently, they are going to get to add whatever they want to our hand. Our opponent is going to add a Triple Tactics Talent Stand. They're going to fire it off, look at our hand, and shuffle a card back. I think that they ultimately did this way too early, because if they got this far, they can assume that we definitely don't have Droll. We would have Drolled them like 8 times over by now. We probably don't have Ash. There were several good spots to Ash. We could have Effect Veiler, but that's really, I guess, the only thing that they're checking for at this point. So they're going to shuffle back that Lightning Storm. Interesting choice, but it does kind of lead me to the belief that they're probably not going to have access to the Fusion spell if they get ring the Lightning Storm. So they're going to bounce the Purrely with Akashic Magician. Just can't pronounce that name. Sorry, everyone. And they're going to get Gates of the Dark World back into their hand with Zephyros, and they're going to fire it off again. They're going to activate the effect, discarding the Purrely, and we're going to do something that's going to look a little bit weird here, but it's going to make sense and ultimately save us. So we're going to get this back on our side of the field in like 2 seconds. It's already activated. They're going to discard the Silva and cycle these 2 back into our deck. However, Silva has to cycle exactly 2 cards back into the deck. It can't just be 1. So we're just going to go ahead and imperm the Magician. Nothing else worth imperming on the field. We just need it out of our hand so that when they discard the Silva, there it goes. It can't resolve because we don't have enough cards, so they're just going to get the special summon, get the rainbow, go into the Saryuja Skuldred. That's what we ultimately want to save the imperm for. They're going to special summon that, or normal summon. I forget how Saryuja works. Anyway, they're going to get that back on the field. They're going to get a bow. They're just going to do a bunch of stuff. More things are happening. Dark Corridor, fortunately, is one of the few Dark World cards that actually has a hard ones per turn on it. There's Muckraker. They're going to get that into the graveyard. Bounce that. Get Grapha. And yeah, we win the game from here. So our opponent has no form of interaction. We've ripped Purrely off the top. Even better. And yeah, we're going to fire off My Friend Purrely. We'll go ahead and reveal 3 copies of Happy Memory. Get a Happy Memory. Normal summon the Purrely. Get the Stray Street. That's just bonus at this point. We'll go ahead, fire off the Purrely. And do you guys see the OTK from here? Comment below if you do. We'll hit into the Muckraker. They'll choose not to protect it. We'll half that monster. We'll give it protection with Delicious Memory while attaching it to Happiness, and we'll just keep hitting in over and over and over again until we win. And let's just do it one more time. By the way, we probably should have given Stray Street protection also, but we kind of knew that we had the OTK at this point, so we were just going for it. And yeah, that's the end of game 1. Let's take a look at game 2. Okay, so game 2, we've actually drawn our silver bullet for this matchup in Droll and Lockbird, plus we have an Ash Blossom on top of that. Very nice. Unfortunately, our opponent has drawn Skill Drain, and we have missed any means of outing it. So our opponent's going to fire off Dark Corridor, discard the Nessie, and we will go ahead and Droll and Lockbird them here. That Nessie's not going to be able to net them a draw. They're going to fire off Triple Tactics Thrust. We'll just use the Ash Blossom here on the Thrust because they're under Droll. What are they going to do? And that's the turn. We're looking like we're in a really good position. We're going to rip Purrely off the top. We'll normal summon her and then get hit with Skill Drain. So something I talked about in the deck profile is that we removed, and this is part of why I'm showing this game, we removed Protector of the Agent's Moon for Skystricker, Ace, Azalea in our extra deck. And I mentioned that Azalea is a almost 100% improvement over Moon with one exception. Moon could have outed this Skill Drain. We probably wouldn't have done it this turn because I would have kind of had to burn through our resources. Would have had to use Sleepy Memory to discard the Purrely, get another Purrely on field. Obviously, it would have been negated. Gone into the Moon, tributed the Moon because it tributes herself for cost. We can then pop the Skill Drain. But then we would have just had a Sleepy Memory and nothing to do with it in hand. So we probably would have waited till next turn. So we do still have to survive a turn. But because our opponent's also under Skill Drain, that might be okay. But it's Dark World, so they can play under Skill Drain pretty effectively. But we don't really have an out to this unless we draw it. So let's see what happens. Our opponent's going to rip Gates of Dark World off the top. But again, let's see how far they can get without effects. And based on pulling that snow into the hand, probably pretty far. So they're going to go right to battle phase, clear out our field. And now they're going to fire off Gates of the Dark World and absolutely go off. They probably would have won the game this turn had they just done this prior, but I guess they were probably maybe playing around and evenly matched. I'm not entirely sure. So they're still going. Yeah, I think the math works out that they would have probably won from here. Well, nothing. We're just going to normal summon Purrely, fire off Happy Memory. We'll go into a Purrely, we'll overlay into Sylvan Princess Sprite, we'll hit over one of their monsters, and we'll just go ahead and convert to a Zeus on the off chance they do something silly like removing the Skill Drain, or secretly hoping that they don't realize that Rainbow can just attack over the Zeus. There's Gates of the Dark World, and our opponent has immediately realized that Rainbow can attack over the Zeus. So we'll just go ahead and surrender and go into Game 3. Okay, Game 3, we have elected to go first. I don't want to give this deck room to run. And our hand is okay. In the draw phase, we are going to fire off Sleepy Memory. We'll discard the Triple Tactics Thrust. Everything else is kind of a little too important to get rid of right now. So yeah, usually you wouldn't want to get rid of a Thrust, but I want to retain these just in case things don't go exactly as planned. But again, doing this in the draw phase to play around Droll, we're going to go ahead and grab a My Friend Purrely and go to the main phase. We're going to go into My Friend Purrely. We're going to reveal Happy Memory, and Delicious Memory. The Happy Memories are for variety, and we got a Delicious Memory. Okay, very nice. So we're going to fire that off, and we're going to go into a Plump here. We'll just go ahead and attach the materials here. And there's the Sleepy Memory. We'll attach it. We're not going to summon any additional Purrelys because I want to stack everything I can under this Plump to make the Noir as big as possible. And here's the Noir. So we do have 2 Sleepy Memories under it, so we are going to get 2 draws, plus we have Ghost Ogre in our hand. What we don't realize is we've put a lot of eggs in one very kaiju-able basket. However, when they do inevitably kaiju the Noir, the damage will have already been done. We're going to fire off Noir, we're going to rip Ash Blossom, we're going to rip Droll. The best 2 possible draws we could have gotten. Beautiful. So, there's the kaiju. So that is going to trigger the My Friend Purrely, and that basically puts our opponent on win this turn or lose. They're going to fire off Card Destruction, we'll go ahead and hit it with an Ash Blossom. Beautiful. They're going to fire off Danger Jackalope. The Jackalope goes to grave. That's going to let them special summon the Chupacabra. They're going to fire off a Lord of Darkness, and that is going to go ahead and eat our Droll and Lockbird. Alright, so this match is really cool because it shows the teamwork between Purrely Happiness and Purrely Beauty. So we are going to special summon the Purrely, and we'll grab off the top that Sleepy Memory. We're going to fire off My Friend Purrely, reveal Happy, and Happy. Oh, what do you know? We got a Happy. We're going to fire off the Happy. We'll just make that My Friend unable to be destroyed. We'll discard the Sleepy Memory. We don't need it. We'll use Purrely to add Stray Street to hand. We'll fire it off. And we'll go ahead and attach the Happy Memory to go into Purrely Happiness. We'll activate Purrely to go into Purrely Beauty. We'll fire off Delicious Memory here, and we're going to attach it to Purrely Happiness here. We could have also done this a little bit differently and attached it to Beauty and immediately threw this in attack mode, but I want the Delicious Memory on the Happiness because the Happiness is going to have the most attacks. So, into the battle phase we go. We're going to grab a Happy Memory here. We're going to fire it off, and we're actually going to attach it to the Purrely Beauty. If we wanted to do this slightly more optimally, we probably actually should have grabbed like a Sleepy Memory or something off of this and attached it to the Beauty so that we could retain all the Happiness attachments for Happiness, but it really doesn't matter. I did the math beforehand and it worked out perfectly fine. So, guess what? When Beauty attaches a material, she can force something into attack or defense position, and this currently can't be destroyed by battle. And our Beauty has 2 attacks, our Happiness has a ton of attacks, and don't forget we have this kaiju that our opponent so graciously gave us. So yeah, here we go again. Let's just get the OTK and call this a game. Something you may notice as well, and part of the reason I want to show this match, Noir, beyond being a target for the kaiju, didn't come into play whatsoever. So I just really want to show off what this deck can do. Even if you can't find Noir, you still have options in just OTKing with Happiness. And speaking of options, let's go into the bonus game versus Keasbey. So, okay, sometimes you just have to do the most boring play possible, but it's what gets you the win, and that's what we're going to show here. So our opponent's going to fire off Dimension Shifter. Really unfortunate, we had a great hand otherwise. They're going to use Planet to get Unicorn. So they're going to special summon the Unicorn, fire off the effect. A little bit of a contentious choice, I feel like, on my part. I've had some people say I should wait to hold the Imperm for later in the turn. And while I do agree with their reasoning, I like hitting the Unicorn with Imperm, because if they do have a hand like this, that would have been it. They would have just ended on it, and we have a very easy OTK line from this position. Unfortunately, they do have the land, so it really didn't matter where we fired off the Imperm, so they're going to get to go off. Yep, there's the Theosis, and that's going to go ahead and get a Fenrir. That Fenrir is going to go ahead and grab Little Rise Heart. There's the Shangara, and there's Little Rise Heart. So our opponent is risking playing into Nibiru, but we don't have Nibiru. We lost Imperm, a Purrely, and a Purrely off the top. As far as things to lose, that's probably best case scenario, honestly. Yep, standard Keasbey play. So they're actually setting up to go into a double Shangara board, which is interesting. I haven't really seen anyone do this since when we had Mind Hacker, and this could like lock everything in general. But however, once this Arise Heart gets online, it only has 1 material at the moment. This will do a ton of damage. However, we're not going to let this get online. Okay, so our opponent's going to fire off Shangara on the standby, get the Fenrir. I do want to point out, I had to sit and think about this for a minute or so before I landed on where I landed on. And again, I was trying to see if there was any other way to do this besides what we're ultimately going to do. So first thing, we're going to fire off that Lightning Storm, clear the back row out. That is going to trigger a Rise Heart, putting in it 2 materials. So they're going to grab that Big Bang just in case of later. Fortunately, the only point of interaction on the field is Fenrir right now. These aren't going to do anything, and the Rise Heart can't do anything because it's 1 material shy. So my friend Purrely, we're going to pay 500, and we are going to reveal 3 copies of Pretty Memory. We're going to normal summon the Purrely, and we are absolutely not going to be activating the effect to excavate because I do not want to trigger this Fenrir. However, what we are going to do instead is activate the effect to Xyz summon into an Purrely Beauty. That is going to trigger the Fenrir. We are going to go ahead and negate it with Beauty. And comment below if you see the line. We're going to poke into the Fenrir because it's the smallest thing, the least amount of damage. And we are going to go into Downard, into Zeus, and we are going to clear the board immediately. Okay, so I do want to point out, we could have actually made this 2 more activations on the Zeus. I didn't want to do that. Our opponent is completely committed to the board that they previously had. They have no cards in hand. Any recovery they had went to the graveyard or went to the banish zone. So they are playing off the top. There is nothing that they can draw off the top that is going to crack through this board with just Zeus. Like, they need a negation and something else. We can't beat them in just 2 turns. If we commit both of these here into the Zeus, we would have to top deck something to get more damage on board because we can only hit them for 3,000 next turn and 3,000 the turn after. But at that point, if they draw like Negation and Unicorn or Book of Moon and Unicorn or anything like that, they can retake the game. So we need to save these because this means that on the turn following this next one, where we can just Zeus whatever they draw off the top, we can set up to win. So our opponent's going to rip Scareclaw off the top and leave the game, giving it to us for the win. Alright, so that was a very cherry-picked set of games because they all had something I did really want to show off. Game 1 versus Dark World, I think, really flexed this ability to turn very little resources into a lot. Yes, this deck can be remarkably resource heavy with its discard cost, but if your opponent slips up even a little, it doesn't take much for you to not only take over the game state, but full on win. Had we not gotten that Purrely off the top, anything that we drew could have been discarded for Purrely Happy Memory that we were basically guaranteed with My Friend Purrely, just reveal 3 of them and get it. And then we would have gotten a Purrely, which actually would have ultimately given us the field spell that we got off of Purrely regardless. Then with Purrely, we attach the Happy Memory from Graveyard and more or less do the exact same thing we did. Game 2, I really did want to point out the difference between Protector Moon and Skystriker Ace Azalea. As well, I still feel that Azalea is overall the better card for this deck. Protector Moon absolutely had value, and maybe we shouldn't have written her off, especially for scenarios like this. Granted, we did miss all our back row removal that we have in the deck, but we actually could have won that game if we had Moon. Game 3, I just really want to show off an example of using Purrely Beauty and Purrely Happiness together to help each other get the OTK, because I just love my little cats working together as an adorable little team. And finally, the game versus Kashtira. Again, I know it wasn't the flashiest play, similar to when I showed off the Vanity's Fiend control game in the previous replay video, but I do just really want to show off how you can really take advantage of these really, I guess, I don't want to call them boring plays because they work, but kind of the simplest, most straightforward play to really take advantage of the fact that our opponent just fully overcommitted to our board, plus we had enough recovery to just completely go off next turn afterwards. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel for even more, and I will catch you all later.